Hello guys and welcome back to today's video. So today's video is going to be a very nerdy video, but I think it's still a very good video. So you remember my last video was about what would it take to have Palantir at $4, and in that video I went into what has to change in the Palantir model so that we reach this $4. Now in this video I'm going to model another thing which shows you why it's impossible that Palantir would ever go that low. And those people who comment in my videos, I'm only going to buy Palantir once it's under $4, well, you are going to be waiting for a very long time. I mean, technically, to be truly truthful, the market can be irrational longer than you can stay solvent, but fundamentally, there's no reason that the stock should be below $4 or even at $4, but you never know what happens. So, as always, if you like this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you want to go further and support the channel, check out the first link in the description box below. It takes you to our Patreon, where you can support the channel for $5 a month and get direct access to me and get access to all of our valuations. So let's get to the video. So many of you know that Palantir is almost like two companies together. And as we know, in their disastrous Q2 that left a lot of people very unhappy, I was stressing that you really need to understand why the growth has lessened and disappointed. And you have to really see if there's a good reason or a good explanation for it. And we have the commercial revenue and the government revenue. So Palantir is like two companies. One of them is servicing the government and one of them is servicing the commercial sector. Currently, the government business is bigger. However, the commercial business is catching up very, very nicely. So CEO Alex Karp talked about the fact that the government is very lumpy and, it's very, very big contracts. And currently, the US government is not awarding contracts. And this is why they have this super slow growth. And if you look back 10 years, they have a 35%, compounded annual return. But when you look quarter to quarter, they have had many flat quarters in a row and then some 100% quarters. And I fully buy this. So basically, to me, this is a very good explanation. But let's say that the government never comes back and the commercial grows much slower, not at 46%, let's say they grow at 40%. But the commercial is going to take over the government very, very soon because it's growing so fast. You can see it was 144 million and it became 210 million, whereas the government went from 232 million to 262 million. So theory, if this continues this is what I wanted to see, how long, then the government will be so big that it will increase back the growth rate of Palantir. So this is why I think that Palantir is at its rock bottom currently, because you can't really slow the growth more, or I cannot see it happening, even if the government never comes back. And even if the commercial loses momentum, it's going to be such a big part of Palantir, the commercial, that the growth will still go back to 30%. So let me show you this very easy model that I made. So this is based on this investor presentation and it's quarter over quarter revenue. So it's not a yearly revenue. So you have to understand that this is Q2 2021 and this is Q2 2022. And it's not the absolute amounts that matter here the most. It's the percent growth. So what I wanted to model here is we had the government revenue, we had the commercial revenue. This is the total revenue in the quarter for Palantir. And how big is the government in that quarter? So government in Q2 2021 was 61% of total Palantir sales. In Q2, the government was only 55% because it grew to 263, whereas commercial also grew 45% to 210. So now let's see what would happen in 2023 if we say that the government is never going to grow more than 10%, but let's say commercial is going to further slow to 40% per year. So what would happen in 2023 is that Palantir's total growth would slow down to 23%, but the government would go down below 50%. And if we go a year more, you could see that again 10% and 40% growth, and both of them have a much higher hidden potential, especially the government, and the commercial too. So now you can see that the growth starts to accelerate back up because the commercial section starts to be so big that it starts to pull the growth of the company up. And in 2024, the government is only 43%. Now let's see what happens if we go 1 year more. You can see that despite none of the growth metrics changing, the overall growth of Palantir is speeding back up towards the 30%, which is the magic number for us as investors. And you can see that the government revenue is now only 37%. And if we go even further, you can see that the growth continues to accelerate despite the metrics being the same. And now the government revenue is only 32% of the company, and so forth and so forth. So you can use your imagination. So the point what I wanted to make with this video is that when you hear these news that Palantir has really slowed down and they're not going to speed back up, it's very important to divide up like what has slowed down, what hasn't slowed down, why did the slowdown happen, and what happens if the government section never comes back. Is Palantir still a viable investment? And based on this, the growth rates of the company is still around 30%. Obviously, it does take, like all of us are hoping that it will be 30+%. But nonetheless, it's not 15% or 10% or 20%. And if you remember from my earlier video, to get Palantir to $4, you need the growth to go below 10%, or the exact number was 11%. And we are so far from this, it's not even funny. So this was a super interesting video. I really liked making it because I'm also interested in nerding in these numbers. And when I look at this, I basically see that Palantir is going to accelerate back up. Hopefully they get the government contracts, and there is no real fundamental reason that the stock price should go further down. Now, this is, of course, strictly my opinion. I might be wrong. I might be inaccurate. These might be the ramblings of a madman, as Tom Nash would say, but this is just my opinion. So let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.